Hi, welcome to Art 123. Now, one thing about the screencasts is this class is all screencasts, right? Like I mean, there's other stuff, there's links to videos, things to read, etc. But everything I'm giving you each week, there's at least one, if not five or more, different screencasts. Now, when I press the button to record the screencast, there's this long lag of about 6 seconds between that time before the camera starts. I often use that as an opportunity, like just now, to sort of limber up, right? Like get ready, get my voice ready for talking, whatever. I mention this because somewhere in the mix of technical screencasts, like when I'm walking through a tutorial or something, somewhere in there is a screencast where a recent student said to me, hey, dude, it was pretty clear that at the beginning of that screencast, you ripped a big one. That was the student's direct quote there. So I just want to make it clear from the get-go, it's not farce, right? Like, it's not farce. Hey, so this particular screencast is, let's talk about the syllabus. Let's talk about the class. Let's talk about what you can expect and make sure you're in the right place, okay? So this link here is a link to a printable version of the syllabus, but if you go over here to the bar on the left, you can find the syllabus. Oh, I guess I'm not looking at the student view. Let's try that, just to make sure what I'm seeing is the same as you. Yep, okay, we're good. All right, so course description, basic camera handling of 35mm single lens reflex cameras and digital cameras. Look, you're taking this class during pandemic weird Zoom time. Pandemic, COVID, Zoom, weird times. Long story short, we skimp on the film side of things. We're not going to touch a roll of 35mm film this class, this term. It's just too complicated. There are a couple of analog or film-based components toward the end of the term, but for the most part, this will be a digital section of the class. If that super matters to you, my best advice is, I don't know, you drop the class and wait it out and see what happens. You know, maybe by, what is this, fall term? Maybe by spring term, we'll be back in the dark room. I don't know. We'll see. Prerequisites? Nope, you don't need prerequisites, but you do need to you're going to need to install the software. You're going to need to have a device where you can install the software. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that. 5 credits. 5 credits. 5 credits. I'm going to stress that. I'm going to stress that a lot because I really want to make sure that you're in the right place, and I really want to make sure that you know that this class is a significant amount of work. 5 credits is a lot of credits. If we were together in person, we would be together in person for just under 6 hours per week. So the asynchronous Zoom school version of this class is still the same workload. It's just that we're not there together to do it, okay? So know that, be prepared for that, schedule your own time for that. My name is Sean, call me Sean. My office hours, so what that means is on Mondays and Thursdays at noon, I will just be here. I will hook up to the Zoom, and it's more or less just a sort of open room to answer any questions, see who shows up. And students have used this in the past as a way to ask direct questions. Students have used this in the past as a way to just hang out with somebody else and talk about, you know, our favorite barbecue sauces and whatnot. And when I say our favorite barbecue sauces, I'm serious. I have strong opinions about such things. Anyway, so feel free to just show up and try it out. I'm going to stick with Mondays and Thursdays at noon for the first 2 weeks. After that, one or both of those might change. Just trying to find good times where people can attend, right? Phone number 503-475-1311 is my cell phone number. That's my personal cell phone number. Please don't abuse that. Email address srecords@clark.edu. You are welcome to send me emails, but at the same time, feel free to just send me messages in Canvas. Canvas is kind of probably the best way to communicate back and forth, just because everything we do is there. It's harder for me to lose things. It's harder for things to slip through the cracks in that way. There's a couple optional textbooks, nothing required. Optional only because I think, I guess there's just one recommended text. Optional just because I think it's a good book, but you don't have to spend money on something you're actually not going to use, okay? I do put it there because some of you learn best from books. Still, if you know that that's you, do it. Put it in your hand. Get an older, used edition of this book. Canvas, Microsoft OneDrive. I'm not going to get into the OneDrive today, but we will use the OneDrive to turn in all of our photo assignments. I'll walk you through how to do that week 2, maybe even I think it's probably week 3 because that's when we start using it. Required supplies. So you're going to need a computer. Now you can get by with a tablet as long as you're able to download and install the Adobe software. Now the Adobe software is free, but it doesn't come with help, you know? Like Clark has the Tech Hub to help students out. Now for the most part, we've been doing this for, you know, a year and a half now. We've got most of the bugs worked out pretty well, but maybe week 2 I'll post the instructions for how to how to download and install that software. But one thing is, don't wait on it. Okay. So computer, digital camera. If you don't have a camera, Clark does have some, but make sure that you follow the steps to checking a camera out. Now, when I say follow the steps, I'm just going to pull back here and I'm going to point out, here it is, remote camera checkout procedure. That lists step by step what you need to do to get a camera from the school. It does require a deposit. I think that deposit is $100. And at the end of that checkout period, if you don't take that camera back, I think you're charged $5 a day until, until you do, or you end up with none of that $100 back. Let's see, what else? You're going to need memory cards. I say cards plural. Don't just get by with the one, you know, make sure. I always believe that like you want to be ready. And so you always want to make sure that you got a spare of whatever, right? Card reader, only if you need a card reader. Oftentimes your computer has a slot in the back where you can put your SD card to download, to transfer the files from the card to the computer. Or you can often use the USB cable, hook it directly into the camera and the computer to download the photos from there. Lens fluid, tissue, or lens pen. Do I have a lens pen? Oh, here's a lens pen. I don't get a kickback, but I would recommend just buy one of these. It's like $10. The advantage of this is that it's got a soft brush on one end and a soft nubbin on the other end. And even though it's $10, it'll last you a good solid year. And the thing I like about this is that it's not messy and it's super accessible. You know, you can just have this in your camera bag, have it in your shirt pocket, have one wherever you go. Otherwise, you could buy lens cleaner, you know, and lens tissue, and for about $5 you can get as much as you're going to need for years. Rain kit simply means you live in the Northwest. At least most of you are currently in the Northwest. Some of you might be off in far-flung locations right now. So be prepared for that. And so that can mean, I don't have one on me. I'd have to look around and find it. But it could mean, like, they actually sell something called a rain sleeve, which is a plastic bag designed to go over your camera so you can shoot in weather. But the truth is, you can also just buy a Ziploc bag, you know, like those big 1-gallon Ziploc bags. You can put it over your camera, rip a hole in it so the lens can pass through it, and then carry a small towel with you to sort of wipe things off. You know, I'm just saying, be prepared for weather. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you never have to shoot in bad weather because you live in the Northwest. There's a lot of bad weather. Tripod is optional. You don't need to buy one. And yes, Clark has them that you can check out. But most of you, like, there's someone in your life with a tripod. Ask them. You know, ask around. Someone's got it. A UV filter is also optional. I should have one of those here somewhere. The thing about a UV filter is a UV filter screws... Oh, there we go. A UV filter screws onto the front of your lens. You have to get one specifically for the size of your lens. This one, for example, you can see where, maybe you can see, where it says 49 millimeters there. But it screws onto the lens and it just keeps your lens safe. Meaning if you were to drop the camera or bump into something, this breaks and not the lens itself. UV filters cost somewhere in the range of $20 to $80, depending on how much you're willing to spend. 20's fine if it's new. It'll be clean enough, and it doesn't do anything really other than just protect your lens. Also, I would recommend you all get a hard drive to store your photos on. It's dependent. I mean, you know, some of you have enough space on the computer. You can just store them on the computer. The thing about the cloud is that the cloud is often confusing and slow and clunky and leads to problems. Okay, and so I would recommend that everybody gets here we go. That you consider getting at least something like an external hard drive. This one, I think, is a 4 terabyte drive. You can probably get that for about $100 these days. Maybe not that brand; those are a little spendier. But anyway, the thing is that you just want to be safe. You just want to make sure that you have a safe place to put your files, okay, and to keep things organized. Other things. Now, I should specify, like, read the syllabus. Okay, go through it, read the syllabus. I'm just going to hit some of the key important notes here. Normally in class, this takes me almost an hour to go all the way through the syllabus. I'm going to try to just spend another 10 minutes or so hitting the big notes. One being, this class is a fine art photography class. Okay, now what I mean by that is that this is not a camera class. This is not a Photoshop class. It's not about the technical tools. We cover them, yes, but I want to emphasize that by a fine arts class, it means it's a class about ideas. And so if all you really want to do is take pictures of the flowers in your yard, you're going to be bummed out because I'm going to push you a lot harder than that, and it might not be a good fit, okay? Also, I want to stress again, it's a 5-credit class. It's a heavy workload, okay? In fact, I just went through and sort of looked over the last 5 sections of this class that I've taught. So 5 sections, that's 100 students, okay? 20 students per section. It breaks down to 37 of those students got A's. 15 B's, 17 C's, 3 D's, 8 F's, but 20 students dropped, okay? That's a lot. 20 students dropping is a lot. Now, I want to specify that, like, the class takes a significant amount of work, and so if you can't engage with that work every week to stay on track, I would recommend take the class another term. Find something that's a better fit for you right now, okay? because otherwise you're wasting your own time and money to get into something if you're not prepared for the workload that's going to come. You can see the various assignments that come down. Well, hold on. Computing part of things. I mean, the one thing about the computing part of things, again, you need a laptop or a desktop computer. Some tablets should work, but often come with some other challenges to them, okay? Clark does have some laptops that can be checked out. If you need one, jump on that as soon as possible. In the resources section, there's a link for how to do that. You can see in the grading system the sort of breakdown of assignments. Picture Talkin', that is an online discussion where you write about a photo each week for 5 weeks. It's kind of the equivalent of writing a one-page response to a photograph. The list is a slightly larger research presentation and discussion. It's where you research a historical photographer and write the equivalent of a 2 to 3 page little mini research paper. The rest of these are all different photo-based assignments. Most of them, it's kind of like you have, usually it's about 2 weeks, from the time I give an assignment to the time it's due for you to work on it. One thing I would stress about that is don't put it off. This is not a class where you can spitball things in your bedroom the night before an assignment is due. It requires the world. Photography requires light. That is our most essential ingredient. And so you can't just shoot everything in your bedroom the night before it's due and expect it to be anything other than a little bit sad. Okay. Let's see. Grading is the standard, 100 point percentage based grading, A's, A minuses, etc. The way that I will grade each assignment is basically along the sort of 10-point scale, 10 being great, where just everything's really creative and solid and good. And then great, pretty good, fair, and oops, varying degrees of oops. So one thing I want to stress is that you always have the opportunity to revise anything you turn in. Okay, like you turn something in and it's missing something or wrong in some way, I'll make it very clear what you need to do to revise that assignment to bring the grade up. You are also always welcome to turn in late work. So you can see course policies, academic honesty and plagiarism. What that means is don't turn in old pictures. It is assumed that every photo that you turn in for this class is something that you shoot from this point forward. Okay? So don't turn in a bunch of pictures that you shot last year. Late paper, yep, you can always turn late work in. Late work gets knocked down 10%, but can come in through the end of the term. Attendance, obviously this isn't a class where we have a class, but attendance and participation grading comes down to staying on top of every week as it rolls out. Every week there will be an attendance quiz of sorts to make sure that you are aware and on top of the important things that we are hitting each week. Extra credit, you can earn up to 10% extra credit by researching additional photographers, going to photo events, seeing photography in art galleries and museums and writing response, things like that. Also, Clark College offers art talks, and once I don't know, at some point I'll post those somewhere and offer extra credit for you to attend those as well. Let's see, other things to note. The various Clark policies, one thing I want to make sure to point out is accommodations. If you need accommodations, make sure that you push the disability support services to do that. Tell me about it. But I say this because there are many, many students who should be receiving accommodations and maybe aren't. And nothing's going to change and make things better until we have enough statistics, enough people who tell the school, I need help in this way, that the school can then put money toward it and make sure that that's happening. It's not super applicable in this class in the way that it works. I think It depends, right? Situation by situation. But anyway, like push for any accommodation you need. Talk to me about any accommodation you need, and we're good. I mean, other general sort of policies that are going to be in every class. But I also want to emphasize that like this is a college level art class, so we're going to cover like real world hot topic issues, both in our classroom discussions and in the work that I show you. Of course, it's never my intention to offend anyone, but it's also a college level art class. We should be able to approach anything and talk about anything in here, okay? So keep that in mind. And just, the main thing I'd say is just always like be both patient and respectful when hearing other people's views, and don't let the anonymity kind of / keyboard warrior part of things come out. Like tone is real, and we all have to remind ourselves when we write anything to read it 2 or 3 times and make sure that the tone of that thing is not going to come off as being hostile or aggressive or weird in some way. Other than that, I mean, read through it. Me saying all this isn't me saying don't cover everything. I'm just going to try to keep it quick, so I won't get into anything else. Do note the class schedule is there at the bottom. Things will change. They pretty much always change. Sometimes they change because of weather. Sometimes they've changed because of COVID and the various situations where things are in flux. Sometimes they change because I have an issue and have to miss something or whatever. So I've got the schedule laid out as solid as I can for now. If things change, I will never make it harder on you. I'm never going to move a deadline up or anything like that, right? But once things change, if and when they do, then I will put a calendar. I'm going to go back to the main page here. I will put a new schedule up here in the How It All Works, the Most Important Things section. I will also draw attention to it. Every week there will be a little intro video like this, just so I can spend a few minutes talking about what's going on. This one's especially long. I try to keep them to just 5-10 minutes. Okay, so there's the syllabus. Make sure to just go through top to bottom, sort of, read in detail the things that clearly need to be read in detail, scan over the things that maybe aren't applicable to you right now, but will be. And don't hesitate to let me know if you've got questions or issues. I guess the one thing I would say that I missed just now, but is super, super real, is that like Zoom school is hard. Okay, it's hard to live and work in a vacuum. It's hard to, frankly, it's hard for me to talk to my toaster here to record these, without a person who I can look at and see and respond to. But the best way for all of us is just real communication. Okay, so show up to the Zoom sessions if and when you can. That's helpful for a lot of students. But otherwise, if you can't, feel free to, send me messages. Use the Q&A discussion. Don't feel like you have to sit there and suffer alone by yourself and figure things out. Now, granted, you also have to ingest the content that I put out there. The Zoom sessions and the Q&A, they're not alternatives for actually just doing the work that the class requires. But they are ways to make you feel not quite so crazy and alone and overwhelmed in a format that makes us feel crazy and alone and overwhelmed pretty regularly. All right. So don't hesitate to be in touch. It's good to kind of meet you in a way that's kind of meeting you. And I look forward to meeting you for real. Okay. Have a good first week, and let me know if you've got any questions. Take care. Bye.